Good evening. Sorry to be running a little late. We're going to start tonight with the special meeting for the Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District Board. Roll call, please.
Chairman Dickey.
Here.
Vice Chairman Tolas. Director Charno.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Director Magazine.
Here.
Director Lacrone.
Present.
Director Spellich.
Present.
Thank you. First item is the consideration of approving the Community Facilities District Board minutes of June 19th, 2018. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. So now I'll open the public hearing, right? Consideration of resolution EMCFD 2019-01, which approves the tentative budget of the district for the fiscal year July 1, ending June 30th, 2020, and setting a hearing date for the budget and tax levy. Do we have any kind of a presentation or anything like that?
Just very briefly, Madam Chair. The Eagle Mountain Community Facilities District was formed several years ago for the purpose of putting in public improvements in that development. This was the way that was used to finance those improvements. I'm going to have our finance director come up and just give you a very brief synopsis of this. Mr. Rodolfi?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Eagle Mountain was formed in 1996, as the town manager mentioned, to construct infrastructure within Eagle Mountain. The annual expenditures for the district are strictly debt service, principal and interest to retire the outstanding bonds. The outstanding bonds will be retired July 1st, 2021. There is a tax levy that is levied upon only the residents of Eagle Mountain. The budget or the debt service requirements for the Eagle Mountain debt service is $413,282. I'll answer any questions if council has any.
Any questions? Are there any speaker cards? No? So what, do we just have to take a motion? Is that what that is?
Yes, staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Close the public hearing, is it?
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, second.
All those in favor, say aye, thank you. All right, next we do the Cottonwoods Maintenance District. Do we have to do a roll call again? No? No, okay. Consideration of approving Cottonwoods Maintenance District Board meeting minutes of June 19th, 2018. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Open the public hearing to consider CMD 2019-01, approving the tentative budget for the district in the fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020, and setting a hearing date for the budget and tax levy. And Craig's still there, so I'm assuming you're next.
The Cottonwoods Maintenance District was formed by Town Council in June of 1999, strictly for the purposes of maintaining the common areas of the Cottonwoods subdivision. That work is done by our Public Works Department with a contract through a local landscaping company. The work performed is primarily maintenance on shrubbery, landscaping. There is a reserve being accumulated for a wall replacement, as well as I believe it's a 10-year painting of the common area wall. All of this money is assessed to the 60 residents of Cottonwood, and their budget for the current year is $6,642. There will be a tax levy assessed in June for just the residents of Cottonwoods. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Any speaker cards? No. Thank you. So we just need a motion then for that, please.
Move approval as written.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I'll close the public hearing, and we'll get a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. we'll get back to the usual stuff here. Call to order the regular meeting of Town Council. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Dean Hosni of Islamic Speakers Bureau, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As I thought about what to share that represents the Muslim faith, one prayer came to mind. It is called Al-Fatiha. And Al-Fatiha is Arabic, and it means the opening. It is literally the opening to the holy book, the Quran. It's the first prayer that any Muslim child will learn. If you're a Muslim and you pray 5 times a day, you probably recite it 15 times in a day. This prayer is typically used when we're facing a challenge or a heavy burden of responsibility. And the purpose is to bring God into our thoughts and ask for guidance and direction. I'm going to read it in Arabic, and then I'm going to give the English translation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawm ad-Din. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. In the name of God, the infinitely compassionate and merciful. Praise be to God, Lord of the worlds, ruler of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, you alone we seek for help. Guide us onto the straight path, the path of those who have earned your grace, not the path of those who have disappointed, and not the path of those who have gone astray. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Dickey,
Here?
Vice Mayor Tolas, Councilmember Charno,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Magazine,
Here.
Councilmember LaCrone,
Present.
Councilmember Spellich.
Present.
Thank you. The first thing I want to mention real quick is that on the consent agenda, item 7H is going to be removed and postponed for another time per our town manager. Next, we have our reports by mayor, council members, and town manager. Anybody have anything to report? No? Okay, I always end up doing it, but I wanted to know, first of all, if anybody from the Mayor's Youth Council is here tonight. There was a possibility. If you are, welcome. I went to MAG Regional Council meeting. We talked about the census that we'll be talking about until April 1st, 2020, and we have local efforts, and Fountain Hills is part of that. I think our share was pretty minimal, about $7,800. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that coming up. It's important that we all get counted. They discussed the transit event that Mike had attended, the aging transit, despite his not being aging. And then I put a copy of the MAG goals at your place that you can just read at your convenience, because they handed those out for the coming year. Councilman Spellich, David, and I attended a school safety event. We have since seen that they put a lot of things up on the website. This is the Arizona Business and Education Coalition, and it's very informative, and I would recommend anybody look at that. The link is really long, so if you really want to find out, we can put that up on our website, or anybody just email me. I'd be glad to give that to you. We talked about it a little bit at our joint meeting. We had a joint meeting with the school board last week, and it was very productive, and very happy that we were able to do that. And we did talk about that, which was a lot about school security. So I do have a proclamation today. It's a proclamation about travel and tourism, and our own Grace Rodham is going to accept it. I'll read it from up here, and then I'll bring it down there. How's that? it says, whereas travel has a positive effect on Arizona and the nation's economic prosperity and image abroad, and whereas travel to and within the U.S. provides significant economic benefits for the nation, generating more than $2.5 trillion in economic output in 2018, and nearly $1.1 trillion spent directly by travelers, whereas travel is among the largest private sector employers in the U.S., supporting 15.7 million jobs in 2018, including 8.9 million directly in the travel industry, 6.8 million in other industries, whereas travelers spend directly generated tax revenues of $171 billion for federal, state, and local governments, funds used to support essential services and programs, whereas the town of Fountain Hills has seen a direct impact on visitation to our town through tourism efforts, whereas meetings, events, and incentive travel are core business functions that help companies strengthen business performance, educate employees and customers, and reward business accomplishments, which in turn boosts the U.S. economy. In 2018, domestic and international business travelers spent $327.5 billion, whereas travel matters to the town of Fountain Hills. Therefore, I, Jenny Dickey, Mayor of the town of Fountain Hills, hereby proclaim May 5th through 11th, 2019 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Fountain Hills, and urge our citizens to join me in this special observance with appropriate events and commemorations. So if Grace would like, I'll just present it to you down there, like that. Do you have anything that you have to say? No?
This is very exciting.
I'd like to give you a microphone if you'd like. There you go. Uh-oh.
I didn't do that since grade school.
Well, congratulations, young lady.
I know. It's like retakes.
Ready? Yay. The rest of the meeting will be painless compared to that. All right. So now we have the consent, call the public, I'm sorry. Do we have speaker cards?
Mayor, I had a quick
I'm sorry?
I had a quick report.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. All these meetings are getting jumbled together, but sometime in the last few weeks, we did have the annual chamber gala, and I don't think we reported on that, but we had good representation from the town at that gala. It was a fun evening, and I know the mayor presented the Mayor's Award, and that went to Toll Brothers, and I was honored enough to present to the new Entrepreneur of the Year, and that was Mike Jones with his AC company, and our tourism gurus out there got recognized by Chamber as well, so it was just a fun night, and congratulate all the winners on their awards, and just a fun night with the Chamber.
Thank you. I forgot about that. You have something else?
Just a comment before the consent agenda. We have submitted to us by Carolyn Redendo of Sofritas an application to host a beer garden in conjunction with Latino Culture and Cancer Awareness Festival. And I just want to say that they have been tremendous for the town. They've done a great job. They're always packed with people. And I think it would be terrific to be able to approve this. And so I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
We just put that off for a second because
Oh.
we have to do the call to the public
Oh,
first.
sorry. Getting ahead of it.
Mayor, I'm sorry, we also skipped over the presentation, so sorry. We
That's
keep,
jumping all over the place. Sorry about that.
it's okay.
Presentation to the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence. Is that Craig or you?
Yes, Craig, if you can come up briefly. So this is an award that we have received for a number of years, and basically the Government Finance Officers Association is an international organization, mostly with U.S. and Canadian members, and we have been receiving an award of this type for how many years, Craig?
17?
17 years, continuous years, no breaks or lapse in that. And it really is a testament to the professionalism of our staff. Not every community receives this particular award. And so I like to recognize Craig and his staff for a job well done. And this is, where do we place these so that the public can see these?
They're in our display case on the first floor in the hallway.
Great. And we've done really well. In fact, I think, didn't we just receive an award last year for, was it the budget and brief document as well?
We have received awards from the GFA for our budget document, for our comprehensive annual financial report, and also something called a popular annual financial report.
So if you don't mind, let's hear it for Craig and his staff, because they do a great job. Craig, as you know, is one that doesn't seek attention out, and I insisted that this be placed on the agenda against his better wishes. So anyways, thank you, Craig. Congratulations.
Thank you. I tried to skip it for you, Craig, but now call to the public. Do we have speaker cards?
We do from Robert Lewis.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I live in 16514 East Westwind Court in the Enclave. And we walk the dog and enjoy the streets of Fountain Hills a lot. And I know there's a lot of issues with sidewalks and some traffic revisions. And what I've heard of the proposed idea out here of the roundabout, I'd support that. Much as I hate roundabouts, I don't know, this is such a confusing intersection for both cars and pedestrians. And also the one down here in the middle of the fountain, Avenue of the Fountains, I'd support doing something there. There is no crosswalk. But the one that I'm really having the beef with right now is where Westby intersects with Avenue of the Fountains. There's a crosswalk there, but there's 5 lanes across. A left turn lane, bike lanes, and there's just, if you try walking that thing, crossing the crosswalk, there's traffic from coming up the hill and down the hill that can't see you. It's really awful. I've been trapped out in the middle of the street there before with the dog, kind of like, what do I do? The other day, a car came up the road so fast that I'd started across, and between lane 1 and 2, I just stopped, and she continued by, and I actually hit her on the back of her car with the newspaper I just bought at the store, and just kept going. I'd really like to see some kind of a marked crosswalk, either the flashing amber lights, flashing red lights, at a button you could push, something. It's an awful intersection. Or, as they do in Mexico, they put in these things called topes, which are big speed bumps. If you put those in both before and after, it'd slow these cars down. But I can sit there and watch the police cars even go down the street at 40 miles an hour or more, and it's a 35-mile-an-hour zone. There just needs to be something done, or we're going to kill more people right there. So.
Mayor, I'd be happy to take a look at this closer. I do know, just for your own information, there's going to be a development that's going to fill in that area around the Bashes. It's that L-shaped parcel right there,
Yes.
which is right at Westby where you're talking about. And I'll look into that. I believe that they may have some traffic improvements and other things that will help pedestrians at that location as well. So I will get back to you. If you could, did you leave your phone number? And
Yes, I did.
Okay, we will be back in touch with you on this.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
That's a bad one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Magazine, would you like to make a motion on the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. So we have a lot of consent agenda items, so we are all ready now on the regular agenda, item 8A, which is consideration of the tentative budget. Grady?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, we've been spending quite a bit of time on budget planning and budget preparation. It's one of the most important activities that the town does each year. Basically, our budgeting is a way for the council to set policy direction. It pretty much demonstrates to the public what your council priorities are for the upcoming year, as well as a spending plan for your operating budget and also for your capital improvement budget. Our finance director, Mr. Rudolphi, is going to give you an abbreviated presentation. It's not all 88 slides that you have seen before, but for the public who are here, it's going to be enough of an overview that they'll have a pretty good idea of what is contained in the budget. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Rudolphi.
Good evening again. I do have the 88 slides in reserve in case anyone is terribly interested in seeing those. The budget we're proposing is $32,562,699. This amount is higher than we talked about at the last meeting due to your request, the direction of the town manager to add a wage and salary adjustment of 3.5% for town employees. So, contrary to what Mr. Magazine had said at last council meeting, it was our lowest budget listed here because of that wage increase. It's now still low, but not the lowest that appears. This is how the money is going to be allocated. Once again, public safety is by far the largest component. Special revenue funds includes our highway user revenue fund. Includes the highway user revenue fund as well as our grant projects fund. The assumptions that were made didn't project a lot of increase in state shared revenues. Only two primary avenues for building permit activity at Darrow Canyon and Fire Rock. No inflation for this year, but I've added 3% for the ensuing years. We had previously talked about the public safety contracts, rural metro being up by 3% and MCSO up by 14%. We do in this year's budget have an annual general fund payment for the community center, which will retire the MPC bonds, the Municipal Property Corporation bonds. They will be paid off in 2020. So after this budget is approved, there will no longer be any allocations or transfers from the general fund. Our bonds at the end of this fiscal year, not 1920, but at the end of 19, 2.7 million. The $1,615,000 is going to be paid off July 1st of 20, as well as the MPC bonds that I just mentioned, the 300,000. So the only thing that would be left would be Eagle Mountain, which are paid by the residents of Eagle Mountain, and that will be retired in 2021. The town manager had mentioned that department heads are requested to maintain a base budget, and anything over and above that base budget would be considered a supplemental budget request. There was 1.4 million of those submitted, and a little over 500,000 was recommended as detailed there. But of that 524,000, 426 was offset either by new revenues or by existing revenues being redirected elsewhere. So the net increase was only $98,000. Almost 700,000 increase is for public safety, and the salary adjustment that council directed was 132,000.
And then just for clarification, it's going to be 2% effective July 1st and 1.5% January 1st.
Correct.
Mayor.
Here's how the money is broken down by fund. As I pointed out previously, each fund is using reserves, drawing down our fund balances or our reserves that had been accumulated in the past, totaling almost $6 million. Broken down by expenditure detail. Overall, it's only a 0.5% increase for all funds. This is just the general fund. Almost just under a 6% increase. The administration and finance is down primarily due to transferring of liability insurance from the administration budget to the general government budget. Here's how it changed, broken down by the major components. We had a reduction in legal fees of $229,000 due to the hiring of a new building inspector. We're going to reduce our contract for outside inspections. These are our capital projects. They have not changed. They've been I believe we had in March a meeting on capital improvement projects, and they pretty much have stayed consistent from them, totaling $3.2 million. These are our reserve fund balances. The general fund definitely includes the rainy day fund, which is $2.4 million, I believe. And then we have another $1.2 million. So over half of that is set aside by council for specific uses. The remaining fund balances, the highway user revenue fund will probably be utilized the following year, 2021. And capital projects fund is just being accumulated for any projects that council so desires to undertake. This is our org chart. It really hasn't changed from prior years. Personnel going up by almost 5, a little under 5 FTEs. A senior building inspector, a code enforcement officer, procurement officer, a streets technician, and then a part-time accounting clerk. We'll have a total of 49 full-time and 27 part-time for an FTE count of 60.82. As previously mentioned, the wage increase, 3.5% allocated in July and January. Here's how its salaries and benefits are broken down by fund. Once again, that's our projected budget. This is the maximum amount. Once council adopts it tonight, there will not be an opportunity to increase that amount. It can be reduced or modified, but can't be increased. So here's how we go about it. Tonight, you'll be adopting the proposed or tentative budget with a resolution. On June 4th, you'll adopt the final budget, as well as adopting and approving the org charts, the FTE schedules, authorized job descriptions, pay plan. We're adopting the existing fee schedule with no changes, pending any further council action or the completion of the user fee study. Then on the second meeting in June, on June 18th, will be when the tax levies for Eagle Mountain, Cottonwoods, and the town are adopted. And that same meeting, you'll consider ordinance and resolution adopting the proposed sales tax increase, as well as a public safety fee. And that's all there is.
Thank you. Councilman Magazine.
Craig, I noticed, and maybe it's been in previous budgets, and I didn't see it, but I noticed that when there's a fairly significant increase or decrease in a line item, there's like a footnote explaining why. Has that been in previous budgets? I found it very helpful.
I don't believe it's been in previous, but it's been something that should have been presented or questioned, and I should have had an answer for it.
But I do remember it's been in the presentation comments. But,
Yes.
But to the council member's point, I don't believe it had been footnoted before.
I found it very helpful, because I found, when I saw that, you know, an expenditure for a department, for example, had gone significantly up or down, I wondered why, and then the footnote really explained it, so I appreciate that. You may have had it in your presentation, but what now is the percentage of our, what percentage is public safety of our total budget?
It's over 50%, it might be 51%.
So even with a 14% increase for MCSO, it's still around 51%.
Yes.
Thank you.
It would probably be higher as a percentage, but because of new general fund supported positions and the street fund supporting a street technician, and a general wage across the board for employees, it probably diluted what that would have been. Probably would have been closer to 52%.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Yes, Councilwoman.
Do you know when that fee schedule study is going to be available?
We just had the kickoff meeting today with a consultant, and the firm is going to be coming out, meeting with people, the key staff people within the next couple of weeks, correct, Craig? We believe it's going to come back to you probably this fall. They'll probably be done this summer, but we won't be meeting in July, and probably August it won't come back, but I'm thinking it's going to be September, perhaps, when you'll get to see some of the proposed fees. In fact, we're going to do a work session on it, so you have more time to get your arms around what they're recommending.
Thank you.
Councilman Spellage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Grady or Craig, the status of the court services officer for the collection of the uncollected court fees, I don't see that in there.
It's not in as an FTE, it's in there as a contract money, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So,
We've added $42,000 in the court budget for that.
Mayor,
Councilman?
since, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since Councilman Spellage did, I met with Judge Melton about a week ago because I have a real problem with the possibility that if we have a public safety fee, we're going to have a significant number of people who are not going to pay it. And he and I talked it through, and he suggested that since he's hiring a half-time person for fee collection for the court, that we could piggyback on that. And so if we have people who aren't paying, that same individual can contact the folks. We also talked about the possibility of, if people refuse to pay after they've been contacted, that we might want to notify credit bureaus. And so that would likely have an impact on people's credit, and maybe they'll pay more attention to the need to pay it.
Councilman Spellage, that was your intention, right? That it would be the same person to do both things?
Not really.
Oh, I thought when we talked about it at the retreat,
I think he mentioned the
it was the
environmental
environmental fee, but in this case, it would be
I
the...
said that if well, my thought was is to bring the collection of that fee back into Fountain Hills, not to use the Florida service. That was, and what I said is if I would think that it would, if the fee is brought back and collected here within the town, and we stop sending Florida $51,000 a year to collect it, if the person that's assigned to collect those fees in town need help tracking down people or things like that, I have to tell you, due to the amount of money that is owed, this guy's going to be quite busy collecting court fees. You know, we're talking a significant amount of money, so I don't know. I'm saying that, of course, I'm sure the officer would help, but I think the first 12 to 15 months, I think, is going to be rather busy collecting, you know, the court fee and everything. If he has time and, you know, he's waiting for the judge to sign a warrant or something like that, or to serve the warrant, I'm sure it'll be helpful. But you're asking a lot of someone, I think, to have them do the court services as well as this. I thought it would be a helping out thing. I don't know if that was going to be a dual role of him doing both jobs full-time. That's a lot to ask, that's all.
If it helps to understand, so we're going to likely be doing the billing for the public safety fee in January. We'll probably have, the fees will have to be paid by the end of February or March, sometime around that time. So by the time we would actually have somebody on board, maybe July, August, their focus will be primarily the court fees. I think we can get real aggressive with the letters that we can send out to people, letting them know that that if they're not paid by a certain set date, that they're going to be reported to the credit reporting agencies. And then that gives us a little bit more time when this person can start going after them and start doing a matter of collections. So that I would say that's the strategy at this point. We're trying to get a twofer out of this position, but to Councilmember Spellage's point, it's probably not going to happen right away on this because it's a relatively new fee, but we do want to get aggressive. We do want people to know that we're expecting them to pay. So good point and good discussion on this.
What I hope is, what I glean from this is that I hope that we have a better handle of who exactly owes this fee, because they had me not paying when I called Florida. And, you know, I discussed with you, it's really screwed up. I mean, they don't know. 2 weeks ago I paid, then I called back 2 weeks later, I didn't pay. So I've gotten numerous answers for them, hence the reason why I thought when I had discussed the possibility of giving people final notice to bring their environmental fees, the rears, up to being paid in full, or the possibility of publishing their name in the newspaper, and some people had a stroke. I feel that if we have a good handle on really who owes this money, because I believe now we really don't have a good idea of who really owes and who really doesn't owe. Hence the reason why I wanted to bring that back into town and not have Florida doing it, because they seem to be fumbling the ball a little bit.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, one Bob Shellstrom.
Hello, I'm Bob Shellstrom from Fountain Hills, and I want to start out congratulating you. I've been looking into various budgets in town, and for the sanitary district, I had to pay them $10 just to get a copy of a public budget, and you guys put it online and save a lot of trouble. You're really congratulated for that. Okay, on to the budget issues. First of all, I've worked in a lot of towns where they've had budget issues where they wanted to spend more than their revenues. And typically, fee increases were the last resort rather than the first. The first resort was to get a list from administration of the lowest value expenditures that could either be deferred or to be eliminated in programs. And then you say, does the community think it's worth it? Would they rather pay more to keep these programs? That's the fair, due diligent way of doing it. To my knowledge, and I've been looking, that's never been done here. What would the sacrifices have to be for the community if you did not have this increase? I mean, it's not going to be police, it's not going to be fire, it's going to be some things in community services and some things in the other divisions, and capital and other things. We don't know what they are, so we have nothing to compare it against. That's not fair. The other thing, you associate all your spending into needs versus wants. If something's there for safety, you need a policeman. You need somebody to put out a fire or bring you EMT service. You need to keep the water flowing. You need to keep the public buildings available. But the wants are, maybe these programs are there that are little used or may be able to be eliminated without really too much harm. We don't know what those are because you don't have that list. I know Mr. Magazine thoughtfully asked for a list of our projects that came in above and under budget. Very good thing. It would be nice to be able to see what that is, because that would indicate an issue if we continuously go over budget. That's the next issue. How efficient are we? We see a bunch of numbers here about 60.82 employees, but what we don't know is how much full-time equivalent employment we have for people who are contractors, landscaping, other issues that are out there. 62% of what we do is contracted. How much is it? And the bottom line is, how good are we doing at getting the best prices for those? I was surprised when we went in to get the latest contract with Rural Metro. I asked for the document request for the evaluation to show the price was right and appropriate. There wasn't any, nothing documented, yet the board still approved it. That's not a good business practice. On the interest of the raises, I'm not saying that they do or don't deserve 3.5% raises, but having worked on compensation before, the first thing you got to ask yourself, are we losing people because we're not paying enough? Nobody seems to be asking that question. Cost of living, probably 1.5% to 2%. That would certainly be fair, but 3.5%? How many people have left here for 3.5% raises? I don't think it's happening. So the bottom line is, this is not money, in my opinion, well spent. You got to look at that again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any comments? Are we ready for a motion? No? It's just read the top there, see? Consideration of Resolution 2019-23, see that?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Sure. I move to approve Resolution 2019-23 as proposed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next item is consideration of approving the First Amendment to the Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with Larry Miller Ford. Craig?
It's actually Justin.
Justin?
Public Works Director is going to give the background information on this, this particular item. Mr. Walde?
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the council, we come before you tonight to ask for an amendment to a contract that we actually held with Burge Ford, and this last year was purchased by Larry M. Miller. And so it's an existing contract with a name change. For this particular amendment, we are asking for the funding to purchase a vehicle to replace the fire chief's truck, which has currently reached its time limit and needing replacement. We have certainly done our due diligence in regards to contract research and vehicle pricing, and it is my opinion that this is the best vehicle we can get for the money available and for the purpose needed. I will certainly answer any questions related to this purchase if you have any.
Justin, the life cycle is 10 years, correct? We keep the vehicle for 10 years.
10 years or 100,000 miles, and this vehicle is 10 years old.
Any questions? You have speaker cards? No? Anybody want to make a motion, please?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You're staying there, so are you next too? Consideration of approving professional services agreement with Montgomery Engineering and Management. Mr. Weldy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We come before you tonight and ask consideration for this approval. We have several capital projects and town projects that require civil engineering review, design, and work. We have a very limited staff. We are fortunate enough to still have the only town engineer to ever work for the town, but he is simply overworked and unable to complete all of the tasks that we have before us. We also are very limited in our CAD GIS department. And so while those two will continue to work diligently on a large number of projects, we simply need to address some of them, especially when it comes to design for our future sidewalk infill program, where we need to meet minimum requirements. And we have some other smaller projects that we believe that Montgomery Engineering would be a perfect fit for these tasks. He is a local business owner. He has collaborated and worked with the town for over 30 years. He is local. He knows the topography. He knows the majority of the town staff. And at least in the past, I can speak for myself that I have been able to reach out to Mr. Montgomery on a challenge, and within 10 or 15 minutes, he and I be in the same location to address, resolve, and move forward from that challenge. If you have any questions related to this, I will certainly answer them.
Yes, Councilwoman McCollum?
Quick question. Have we contacted with them before?
Indeed, we have. Montgomery Engineering did the design for alley paving Phase 4 as of most recently, but over the last 30 years, they have designed a few projects and worked with the town staff on projects.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. I've worked with, my company has personally worked with Dave Montgomery for 20 years, and I've got to tell the council that I don't know of a better civil engineer in the valley than Dave Montgomery, and especially for Fountain Hills, because he knows Fountain Hills like the back of your hand. He understands it and knows it, and I would highly recommend us approving this.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards on this? Nope. All right. Are we ready for a motion?
I'll second Councilman Brown's motion.
Very good.
We have a motion, I think, and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So our next item is, again, the Legislative League of Cities and Towns. Any items that you want to talk about? I know we had a fairly new issue come up about smoking in public places. It was a bill that was for raising the age of who could buy tobacco, but it got turned into one that would preempt all city and town ordinances that are in place. And as you know, just very recently, we won an award for having smoke-free parks and trails and designated smoking areas. So right now, a good sign, I think, is that it was supposed to be on the floor yesterday, and it was held, which usually means there's some trouble getting the votes, and then it was not on the calendar today, and it's not on the calendar so far for tomorrow. So we contacted our legislators about that. And then the short-term rental one, 2672, did have some action yesterday. So that's Representative Kavanaugh's bill, and that is looking good. So that's the only updates that I had. Do you have anything else, Aaron?
Mayor,
No? Councilman?
just a comment. Over the years, it's clear that the legislature is doing everything they can to preempt our powers. We're the ones closest to the citizens. We feel the pulse of the community. And yet, year after year after year, we see that our powers and responsibilities are being taken away from us. And apparently, there isn't anything we can do. I'm familiar, and you may be familiar with Dillon's Law, which basically gives the state the power to make these decisions. But I can remember in years past when a lot of legislators talked about how they wanted the localities to make the decisions. Well, that's all changed, and it hasn't changed to our benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? That's true, but we do have voices, and I think that may be what we did yesterday. The league got everybody to get really activated on that bill, and I think that's probably why it was held. So we make progress when we can. The last item is the council discussion direction to town manager. Did anybody have anything in that item? Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Grady, when we discuss the fees and the fee schedule that's going to be coming up, I would also like included, we had discussed, or I was informed about this legacy.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that it's discussed within the council and somewhere on the agenda who's going to pay these fees, and that it's fair and equitable, and that we're not exempting certain organizations and everything. We need to make sure that everything is above board and everybody pays their fair share.
Definitely. The thing, too, is that will also be looked at as part of that fee study that the council will get to look at. I'm not sure, Craig, on the, since we weren't planning on making any, because the council made it very clear they didn't want to do anything until after the fee study came back with the recommendations and the council took action. The question is from Councilmember Spellich. We had a certain window to go ahead and do the advertising for fees and all that, correct?
Correct.
So between now and the time that they adopt the fee schedule, which is the 18th?
The fee schedule will be adopted June 4th.
June 4th. Could they make a change at that meeting on any particular fee?
Yes.
So we're going to look at this, and we'll come back, and I'll talk to Aaron, because I believe one of the things that we need to do is we have it's called a naming rights and event policy that kind of talks about these legacy fees. And so we'll talk and maybe bring something back for discussion maybe on the next meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.